Start your day with Quaker Protein Instant Oatmeal. The instant oatmeal ready to help you tackle whatever your day brings. Like wrangling your toddler into their car seat. That was fun. Coaching your 6th graders soccer team. Go girls! And carrying all the groceries in one trip. Whew. Try Quaker Protein Instant Oatmeal, granola, and bars. Great taste and a good source of protein. Quaker, bring out the good.
Are you ready?
This is From the Backline, a soccer podcast from Vancouver, covering the game at home and abroad. Here are your hosts, Mark Daly and Jorge Mendoza.
Hey everybody, welcome back to From the Backline, episode 291. Not 290, not 292, 291, meaning that there were 290 absolute classic episodes before tonight, April 23rd, 2026. Mark Daly here with the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, Jorge Mendoza. How are you, my friend?
I heard that out of those 290, there's at least 2 that are not bad.
That's fair. That's fair. And, consider we're now on this, somewhat modified release schedule of 1 episode every 6 years. It might be a little bit of a pause or a time before we get to episode 300 in about 140 years from now. But, we're doing our best. Life is busy, but somehow we managed to carve out a little bit of time to sit down today to talk about the Vancouver Whitecaps winning again this past Friday night against Sporting Kansas City. One more home match this weekend against the Colorado Rapids. Then heading out on the road for 8 matches. Got the World Cup break in between. And then eventually we'll see the Whitecaps again if we remember that they still play in town in August or late July of this year. And then let's face it, we all knew that this moment was coming, but now it's literally right here. One more home match for the next several months. Dude, it feels weird. Honestly, it really does.
August 1st. So the last home match is going to be this Saturday, April 25th. And they're going to go the entire month of May, the entire month of June, and the entire month of July before we see the Vancouver Whitecaps at home once more, which is a bizarre thing to think about. Before we talk about Colorado, though, when we started to record these episodes, the Whitecaps had just beaten Minnesota. And they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 matches to go in this first homestand. And we discussed about the number of points out of 15 that we felt were going to be a positive homestand for the Whitecaps. And I went back and I listened. And I said...
Was it 9?
You said 10.
Okay.
And I said 13.
13, okay.
And out of those, the Whitecaps got 12 points.
So, Whitecaps fans, you're welcome.
Well, I think 9 was at 10 points was a ridiculous
You say that I'm setting the bar too low?
Yeah, a little bit. But looking back on my own assessment or what I set the bar to, I think maybe 13 was also a little harsh, because that means it's at least they couldn't lose a single game. I think having won 4 out of 5 games is a very impressive feat.
Well,
right? Because
not only that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Not only that, I mean, also that stumble they had against San Jose, where they kind of came out flat-footed and just never really established themselves in the match. And San Jose are Western Conference leaders at the moment, 3 points ahead of the Whitecaps. That was kind of one of those early season matches. I felt that if they didn't get their head straight, could have been one of those moments. But all credit to them. I mean, they've just sort of got up, brushed themselves off, and gone on to winning matches. And I mean, a very, very healthy, where's the goal differential here? So, a goal differential now of plus 18, tied with the San Jose Earthquakes. LAFC plus 10. Minnesota, who's in fourth, this is shocking, a -2 goal differential. So, I mean, they're sitting way at the top of the Western Conference. And yeah, it's looking good.
But like, I think you make a good point, though. Like, thinking about, like, it's not only that they won 4 out of 5 games. They scored a bucket load of goals. Like, they scored 6, 9, 11, 14 goals in 5 games. That's almost 3 goals per game.
Dude,
and they received 3.
Yeah, when we first did version 1 of this podcast, there was many years where 14 was the goals for an entire season.
14 was like half a season. Yeah, it was 3/4 of a season. Like,
it's ridiculous.
There were years and years when this franchise, when we would like hope for like a half a goal to nil win. Like, not even like, let's get like 0.7 goal versus 0. And that would have been a good result. And now we're talking about like almost 3 goals per match at home. They're in a very impressive run. Yeah. And obviously we'll talk about more about the big road schedule that they have starting next week. But I think that if you ask me, as of today, going into match day 10, which is basically almost a third of the season already, the Whitecaps are firmly the best team in the league. I would say for this chunk of the season, which I think that we can probably see them that way, right? We can see if we break the season into thirds. Like, this was the first third. This big next 3 months is another chunk, another third, and then we have the final. I think that they have passed with flying colors what we were expecting of them.
100%.
Because I was expecting them to be at the top of the league 9 matches in.
And that's it, right? I mean, I think it answers a lot of questions, right? It's just like, was last year a bit of a fluke? Was it just, did they get hot at the right time? Was this, the appearance at MLS Cup and everything else that they did last year, was it just, I wouldn't say by coincidence, but they just got hot at the right time. And I think we can categorically say right now that no, that 2025 was not a fluke. This team is for real. They've got talent. They're contenders, and the thing that's impressive is this side still finds ways to win, because arguably, I don't think Sorensen still has his best 11 available to him at any one time, right? Because we see players getting injured, coming back healthy, and then another for starting 11, automatic lock gets hurt, but somehow guys keep stepping up and they keep rolling, and it's marvelous. I mean, this is the kind of thing that you need to do to be a contender, because if you're just going to rely on, well, maybe we'll just get hot at the right time of year, that's not a strategy. That's BS. But it's the mentality, and Thomas Mueller say that he wanted to help build this winning mindset, this winning mentality in Vancouver. This all sort of plays into it, is that everybody's playing for the same reason. Everybody's invested in the right way. And it's just like, somebody goes down, we'll find a way to make it work, and they keep doing it. I mean, the record right now, a 6-1-0 record at home, a 1-0-0 record on the road. That road record is obviously going to change because, as you mentioned, they're going to be on the road for the next 97 weeks. But yeah, I mean, they've done everything that we could have asked for in these opening 8 matches of the season. And the criticisms I think I have of the team are actually fairly few, which is a great place to be, considering we went through those expansion years and things like that. This is a nice place to be as a supporter.
It's great. I mean, there were so many questions. I had so many questions coming into this season based on how they did last year. Like you said, was it a fluke? Was it did they have the element of surprise on their side? And now they're not going to have that. Now, are they going to buckle under the pressure of expectations? right? We
Mhm.
talked about that a little bit in a few episodes ago, where like this team is not used to be expected to win, so is that gonna play in their minds? But also from a personnel point of view, obviously Ali Hamed left,
Mhm.
Jadon Nelson left, and suddenly I had some question marks regarding the wings. I said, I was like, oh, it's not looking great, right? But they brought Astra, which is doing well, and they brought Caicedo,
Mhm.
who's also a good threat down on the left hand side. They brought Sabali on the right hand side, and now you have an embarrassment of riches, right? Because Jasper said prior to the game against Sporting Kansas City that he considers Jivan Badwal to be his starting right wing and his spot to lose. And then he puts in Sabi, and he had a phenomenal match against Sporting Kansas City. Scored a goal, had a wonderful assist for Thomas Muller, and now you start thinking. I was like, okay, well, then what is this best starting 11 for this team, right? Because you got to keep in mind, like you were talking about injuries and people returning back to injury. Let's not forget Ryan Gold is probably jumping at the bit and probably getting ready. Where are you gonna put Gold? And then, I mean, it's a good problem to have. I'm glad I'm not Jesper Sorensen, but like then now those are the fun. The fun conversations that we get to have, right? Okay, like what is the best? Who should be playing? Because they're all doing like very well. So this is uncharted territories, Martelli. Where are we doing?
Well, I don't want to, I don't want to jinx things, but I was away for a couple of days last week, so I knew the score of the match because I was on the way home on Friday. So I knew that the Whitecaps had beat Sporting Kansas City before I came home. So I'd already made plans. I will watch the match on Saturday morning. And what my criticism is that after the half-hour mark, the match was over. There was basically an hour. And I knew when the goals all came. So, I'm unpacking my suitcase and doing some laundry and coming back and checking in
you
and
do
things
laundry
like that.
before you come back home? You don't have a laundry set in your house?
No, I did when I got home. I did when I got home.
Got it.
And I was watching, so I was watching the match after the goals, but it's amazing. So why don't we talk about that match right now? Because it kind of leads into some other things. So they scored 3 goals against Sporting Kansas City. It's over after 28 minutes. That goal that Thomas Muller scored from that cross from Emmanuel Sabi, which was, that was ridiculous, right? He slipped on the plastic grass, and it looked like one of those moments that was going to be embarrassing, where he kind of like get up and smile awkwardly and kind of like try to hide himself somewhere on the pitch to hide his embarrassment. But not only does he end up over by the advertising boards, he's back on his feet, keeps the ball in play, makes a wonderful cross into the box. Thomas Muller did not have to move an inch, pretty much, and puts it into the back of the net. And let's be honest, though, 3-0, it could have easily been 4-0, 5-0, 6-0, 7-0. I counted at least 7. I think the Whitecaps, their XG now has to be ridiculous. I think their XG per match now has to be about 42. The amount of quality chances that this team is putting together on the pitch, and the thing is, the way that they're playing. If they're winning like these matches like 3-0 and things like that, and they're having all these quality like chances, I fully believe, in my heart, they have one of these games in them where they're going to just bury a team 5-0 or 6-0.
Well, they already did with Minnesota.
Well, with Minnesota, but I think there's more of those matches to come. Exactly. That's it. And that's the crazy thing. And and that's why it's such a shame that, and as awesome as it is a once in a lifetime opportunity to have, the World Cup here in Vancouver, to have a whole bunch of matches, coming up over the next couple of months. We were talking just now, Jorge, about, these defining moments. And and these little speed bumps along the way. I mean, the record and what they've done through the first, like you say, the first third of the season, wonderful. The complaints and criticisms we have are relatively minor, but now they're going to go on the road until the 1st of August, and this is going to be one of the, so that's going to be challenging even before they get to the World Cup break and everything like that. So, I mean, all the momentum that they've established now through the first couple of months of the season, they still need to be able to to extend it, because they're not going to be able to have the benefit of coming home. If they have a bad game or 2 bad games or something like that, they don't have the benefit now of coming home, getting in front of the whole crowds that to reset, get that support, and have the comfort of, playing in a familiar building. I mean, they're going to be out on the road an extended amount of time. So this is a crucial part of the season. This is a very, very important part of the season. And like I say, as wonderful it is to have the World Cup coming to Vancouver, when it comes to the Vancouver Whitecaps, this is challenging for them, because they have to find a way now to navigate these next 8 matches and the World Cup, break in between, and still maintain this form and still perform to the level that they've had, so that when it all gets, sorted out, we get back to regular league play, and, we'll have things like, the Canadian Championship, etc., coming up at some point throughout the year as well, that they can maintain this, because it's got one of those, that's one of these situations where there is a potential where, it could go wrong. And I certainly don't believe that's the case, but it's just going to require, I think, extra, focus and extra effort on their behalf. But I don't think that there's, any concern in my mind that the team isn't mentally strong enough to do it. But I mean, it's going to be a very big chunk of work to get it done, right?
I think, and going back to the match against Portugal, because I think that it sort of connects with what you're saying. I think that the mentality of this team shows every game. Mm-hmm. Starting with minute 25, like you mentioned, the team is already up 2-0. By all intents and purposes, the game is over, because Sporting Kansas City, no offense, are absolute garbage right now. So you know that they're not going to come back from a 2-0 deficit on the road in the first 15 or however many they were down by 2-0. And yet there's this ball that feels too long, that when I saw it, I was like, well, that's going to be a ball for Sporting Kansas City. But Xavi went and fought for it and sprinted and did slide it and saved it and then put it. And so that is at the 25th minute, already up 2-0. Then fast forward to the 86th minute, and they're 3-0, and they have been winning this match for basically an hour of running time. And the press is still all the way up. There's still, you have, and listen, I don't want this podcast to become, the official mouthpiece of the Thomas Muller Vancouver fan club, but 86 minute, up 3-0, you have been winning for an hour, this game is over, and yet you have Thomas Muller leading the charge, leading the press, still sprinting, is still trying to get the ball back, is sliding to win a throw-in. And I think that just speaks about the mind frame that this team is in, which I think is going to come very handy come the next 8 games on the road, because that was what we were saying. I think that the mental fortitude and the attitude that they have is in the right place, and I think that is going to be at least 50% of what needs to get done to get positive results on the road. But that's a conversation we'll have maybe next week. I
agree with you 100%.
Next week ahead of the first game on the road. The other point that I wanted to make about the match on Saturday, I wanted to talk about 2 things. One is, like you mentioned, like this amount of chances that this team is creating. Like you said, I counted them. There could have been 7. Mm-hmm. There was 3 of them, but it could have been at least 7. They hit the post twice. Mm-hmm. The goalkeeper Polskamp had a couple of good saves towards the end specifically. Xavi missed a header before he scored his goal. So just with those, that's like 7 goals in itself.
Yeah.
So it is very exciting. It is very exciting to watch, and I am very, very pleased. The other thing that I wanted to ask you about was we saw the first start of Bruno Caicedo. Prior to this match, he had been coming on from the bench as a great sub, like just running at the right back with tired legs, absolute nightmare. What are your thoughts on Bruno Caicedo as a starter versus as a super sub?
Yeah, well, I think the fact that he scored that goal all on his own against Sporting Kansas, it was a good goal. It's interesting. I'm still kind of like trying to get a good feel on him, but the thing that sort of strikes me is he's one of these players that sort of, and what's the right word? He kind of lulls you into like a false sense of security because he's very explosive and he's also a very big physical player.
Yeah.
And I don't, if you're a defender, I think that he's not a fun player to play against. He's one of those guys, I think, that if he's on your team, that you're going to have a player like that. But I feel that he's going to be a real handful out there, and it's just another tool for Jesper Sorensen to utilize. And I mean, we've only seen him play a handful of matches so far, and I'm really liking what I'm seeing. And I don't really feel that Bruno Caicedo is 100% integrated into the side yet. I mean, he hasn't really been here long enough. I mean, he's done very well. I mean, don't get me wrong, but I think that there's still a lot more runway to see, what he's really capable of. So I'm really excited to see where he sort of develops the more matches he gets with the Whitecaps. And because I mean, let's be honest, sometimes new player comes to a club and sometimes some players take a very, very long time to really settle down, really find out where they fit into the team. And it's I think a bit of a testament to the system that Sorensen plays is that I think they're being very strategic in the type of player that they want to bring to the club. It's not, that's not just a good player, but this is a good player because reasons, and those reasons are they have certain attributes that will complement the system. And I think we're seeing that with Caicedo. Yeah, I think he was a good signing. I think we're going to see a lot of good things from him. So what do you think? What's your take?
I thought that he had a good showing. Obviously, he scored a good goal. I'm still I felt that he was a little up and down throughout the match. I don't think he had a consistent performance, but he had moments where he was electric, like we have seen in the past. But I felt that there was also some chunks of the game where he wasn't as effective. So for now, I think that maybe I would prefer to see him coming off the bench with like 25 minutes in the match and to just burn the left-hand side and then just go run after run after run, and out of those something will come out. I think I would like to see more, obviously.
Yeah, and then we have to remember too, he's still a young player. He's only 21, so he's still got a long time before he's still,
you
really
could be his grandpa by now.
Well, pretty much. I mean, which is sad to say at this point, but I mean, he's still fairly young. So I mean, he's not even really in the prime of his career. So I mean, he's got some time to go. But yeah, I mean, I think your assessment is the consistency. There was a little bit of up and down, but just before we move on to the next one, I just want to circle back for a moment to a comment that you made just now that you don't want this podcast to become like the official Thomas Mueller podcast. Honestly, Jorge, and I'm going to say this because I love you, man, but I'm okay with that happening because this used to be the official Pedro Morales podcast and the Matias Lauba podcast, and dude, as much as I love Pedro and Mari Laba, they're gone, bro. We need a new one. And if we're going to replace the only Matthias Laba, I'm fine with that, being Thomas Bühler. I think that he's a worthy successor, and I know he is. So there's
That's
that.
fair. That's fair. Okay, well, let's move on a little bit from what happened over the weekend and what is coming up next, because it's another important topic that you want to touch on as it relates to the Whitecaps.
Yeah, I've been listening to a lot of all the talk about the possible relocation, and our good friend Simon Fudge was on CBC Radio 1 with Gloria Makarenko a couple of days ago this week to specifically talk about the situation with the Whitecaps, and the possible move out to, say, the P&E grounds, to the old racetrack out there, and some of the marks against that specifically, some issues with the transit and whatnot. And I honestly can't believe we're having this conversation. Like really, I mean, 10 years ago, and, it's my prerogative, I think, to go back and, constantly refer to version 1 of this podcast. Cause, honestly, just like the first time around, we still don't really have a lot of material. So we have to find a lot of filler to make it worthwhile. But, joking aside, I mean, 10 years ago was like the whole talk was about whether or not they could get that waterfront stadium, built, right? That was the dream. And, I will be a little bit critical of the Whitecaps at this one. Is just like, that was a swing for the fence. That was always going to be the home run shot, that if they could have pulled it off, it would have been, a marvelous, achievement, right? But I mean, just somebody that works in land development and kind of has like a fairly good understanding of those sort of processes. And it was always going to be, I would have loved to see it happen, but it just seemed like a bit of a long shot. And I don't blame them for trying. I don't think that any one of us would, well, maybe if it was a cold and rainy, miserable night, but I think most of the times, considering when the MLS season runs, there would be plenty of opportunities to go in and enjoy a match there in a beautiful, one-of-a-kind location. But now we're looking at different things, and we all understand that there's limitations to BC Place and the lease there, and the fact that it does hurt them financially. But I'll be honest with you, I do not like the talk of possible relocation, and I think that there's something to it. And you see like David Osted, and with his campaign to raise awareness about it, and some well-known supporters like Christian Ogg doing the same thing, and it's great. I really applaud people for getting out there and trying to raise awareness. But part of me thinks to myself, what, the powers that will get together and work something out. But at the same time, I'm very skeptical of that. Just knowing that that the government takes forever to get things done, and that's where I'm legitimately a little bit nervous. I mean, we've been big fans of this club ever since they came into MLS in 2011 or whatever it was. I mean, we've invested a lot of time and passion and energy into and money into this club because we enjoy having a top level football club in Vancouver, and they finally established themselves here. It's taken a while. They're a fun team to watch, all those good things. But I'm getting to the point now where I'm honestly concerned for the future. That I just don't think it's idle talk anymore. And I sometimes kind of joke to myself, well, like that there's that really old Simpsons episode where the Springfield baseball team moves to Albuquerque, and and I kind of like say to myself, well, nah, they could become like the Albuquerque Whitecaps. I can't see it. Like they'd have to get something done. But yeah, I have to say I'm uncomfortable about it now. I mean, obviously we don't have any insight into the conversations that are being had and deals that are potentially being made. Simon made a good point when he was on CBC the other day. It's like, well, why Vancouver? Why not another, municipality in the Lower Mainland to look for an option for a stadium? And I'll be honest. I mean, I like going to downtown to watch a football match, but at the end of the day, I mean, do we have to stay, linked with downtown Vancouver, or, would we, would is that a possibility too? I don't know. The whole point of this, semi rant, hissy fit, whatever you want to call it, is that, it just, I feel like there's, real cause to be, concerned at this point in the road. And I'm really unsure of what would really make me comfortable at this time. I mean, I don't know if it would be all of a sudden a bunch of backhoes showed up to the Peony and started digging for, new construction for a stadium there, or maybe it's some other site within the city, or maybe an adjacent municipality. I don't know. It's just I've come to this spot that is as excited and as happy as I am with what I'm seeing on the pitch. It's what's happening off the pitch, and specifically the lack of any, concrete
Progress.
or good news. Progress. Exactly. Thank you. Really has me feeling not very happy about that. And, I'm not the only one. It's just, I don't know, it's just not a good place to be, right?
Here's what it has me upset a little bit about this. As we are embedded in these questions and these discussions about the Vancouver Whitecaps possibly relocating out of Vancouver for all the reasons that you just laid out. There's financial pressure, there's lack of viability because of a stadium, and all these things that are making it hard for the Whitecaps to stay in Vancouver. And on the other hand, we have also conversations of the city making bids to get a Major League Baseball in town. Now, don't get me wrong. Arguably, baseball and hockey might be my second favorite sport after football. Mm-hmm. So very few things would make me happier than to see a Vancouver Major League Baseball game. A place where I can take my kids and we can go as a family. And hey, BC Place was built to host a Major League Baseball team. It is a baseball stadium first. But the thing that upsets me is, why don't we just sort out our house first? Why don't we look into how can we work with the teams that we already have before we look into getting more professional teams in the city? Because right now we're in the middle of conversations that might take one of the professional teams in the city that we already have established and that has a long history in this city and that is important to so many people in this city. And if I may add, one of the few teams in this city that is actually successful.
That's fair. Harsh,
it
but
might
fair.
be
Yep.
on its way out. Why don't we try to sort that out first? And then we talk about adding more to the mix.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Yeah. No, you're 100% correct. I
Right?
totally agree with you, and stuff like that. Obviously, that's going to be different groups of people involved, but yeah, I mean, exactly to your point. Why can't we sort out the business of the Whitecaps first? And I mean, soccer is my number one passion. I'm a big soccer, a big football, big Formula One fan. Those are my top three. I constantly, when I'm going through the podcast I'm listening to on my phone, they're all the soccer related ones first. I mean, and I don't think that, you or I or very many other people would, find this an odd comment. I could go sit down next to a football pitch and sit there and watch, a football match all day long. Doesn't matter if it's MLS, it could be beer league or it could be whatever it is.
Over 40s.
Over 40s, over 50s.
It's just
some
sad,
of it.
sad spectacle most of the time.
But you know what I mean? I mean, I derive a lot of joy and a lot of my time goes into, consuming soccer, football. I mean, I always call it football, of course, but, and that's my number one passion. So to potentially lose like a top level team like the Whitecaps out of the city would be devastating for so many of us. And I know there's other options. I'm not going to take away anything from Vancouver FC, especially because we got Martin Nash on the show here coming up in a few minutes. So there's that as well. But yeah, it just bothers me. Just on the one hand, if any team should be leaving the city right now, it should be the Canucks, and they should be ashamed of how horribly bad they are.
Right.
I mean, that's just and they should leave permanently unless they never get their act together. They should at least go for a timeout, and then once they get their act together, then they can come back, with the caveats that they don't pull this garbage again. And it's because it's just not cool. It's just not
Jesus.
cool.
Now the Canucks are catching strays. So before you start before other sporting organizations in the city start taking any more heat from Mark Daly,
That's
why
right.
don't we do that? I had the opportunity to chat with Martin Nash, the head coach of Vancouver FC. We talked about a little bit on his career, a little bit on the early Canadian Premier League season and his view on the league as a whole. So why don't we just throw that and his conversation with Martin Nash.
From the Backline, in conversation with
Coach Martin Nash, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for your time.
No, thanks for having me. My pleasure.
So, Martin, I think it's safe to say that you come from a pretty accomplished sporting family. Your brother in basketball, yourself in football. I have 2 little kids at home myself, and I'm trying to provide them with the best opportunities for them to become the best versions of themselves in whatever it is that they choose to apply themselves. So when you look back at it now, is there something in your like sort of home environment that helped you like foster and like help you both to blossom into what you went on to do with your careers?
I don't know if there's one thing. I think, our parents were very supportive of us. We were active kids out playing all the time, and they really just put us into teams that we could play on. So we were playing soccer and sometimes baseball, lacrosse, whatever it was. We just go play different sports with our buddies at the park all the time. We weren't, at home on watching TV because there wasn't much to watch, and there wasn't really video games that were any good back then. So we were just outside playing all the time. And, our parents did a really good job of getting us into different sports teams. And yeah, we played everything growing up. And yeah, it was good for us and it was what we needed. And, they didn't push us. They just gave us an opportunity to play in different sports.
Yes, just providing just the options, I guess. Yeah. You had a long professional career in football, and there's been a lot of changes in the last few decades. You have been obviously embedded in and very involved in at the soccer highest levels that we have. What are sort of like the main changes that you have seen from maybe when you were, as a professional footballer to now that you're seeing the game as it has evolved now?
Yeah, I think the game's been studied more. I think from, the physical side of the game to even the tactical side of the game's been evolving and changing. We know more about what the human body can do and how hard we can push it and how training the right way can have players play at a more complete physical level. And tactically, the game's changing a lot. The game's being studied more. We're, defensive shape. It hasn't been totally changed too much, but especially in attacking shape with rotations and different things like that. It's been evolving all the time, and it keeps changing. And there's a lot of teams playing in different formations and different ways to get numbers in the attack and still keep, a good structure underneath. So it's been interesting, and I've enjoyed watching the game evolve and how different teams play and, try to keep up to date because the game's evolving at a rapid pace.
Do you consume a lot of football now?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, too much maybe, but, I love it. It's something I've always loved to do. And so, I love watching different leagues, from the Premier League to the Bundesliga to La Liga, anything that's on. I watch a lot of MLS as well, and obviously watch every game in our league. So, watch a lot of games and see what different trends there are and, see if I can pick up something or, something interesting that, might help me as a coach or my team play.
My philosophy is that there's no such thing as too much football, but at least you have the advantage. It's like, hey, it's work. I'm preparing myself. So
Exactly.
yeah, it's great. So, coach, when did coaching really start to feel like the natural next step for you in your career?
Yeah, I probably around 2012, 2013, a couple years after I retired. I was full-time coaching, but still kind of hadn't let go of the playing career in a way and didn't really dive fully into it. But the more and more I got into it and, being around some teams and coaching some players and watching them progress and grow and become better players, really caught the bug and just wanted to, be a part of a team still, which is a big part of why I coach still, but also improving players individually and watching a team improve and grow is really satisfying. And it's, great to still be in a professional environment that, I've been blessed to be in a professional environment now for over 20 years in soccer.
That's great. So, what are sort of the coaches or maybe the influences that has shaped the way in which you see the game today, and maybe the way that in which you want your teams to play now?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. A lot of coaches from, the usual suspects in Europe to ones I played for. There's a lot of quality coaches I've been around as a player, and I like to watch different teams play. I don't really. There's not like one coach that I'm like I'm influenced by generally, but there's a lot of coaches that influence me, from ones I'm around on a day-to-day basis to some you see that what they're doing from afar. So it's really interesting just to see how coaches work and how the game evolves and how teams play.
So, talking about Vancouver FC, obviously your current squad, you're leading the team. It's early season in the Canadian Premier League. It's only been 3 match days. Internally, what do you like about your group right now and going into just starting to really get into the groove of the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've done a really good job of controlling the tempo of games. We've been creating a good amount of chances. It's just haven't been able to finish them in front of goal. We've had a couple off the line. We've defended well as a team. We've only given up 5 shots on goal in 3 games. We've just been unfortunate with some of the results, but that's part of it. We got to keep growing and getting better, which I feel we are. And once we start putting the ball in the back of the net, I think we're going to be a dangerous team in this league.
Last year, you made a run, an important role, obviously in the Canadian Championship, going right into the final, right against the Whitecaps. As someone who has been involved in the Vancouver soccer scene for so long, how much fun? I mean, obviously the result didn't go your way at the end, but like overall, how much fun was the experience for you to be in this kind of in the first Vancouver Clásico, if you will?
Yeah, I know it was great. It was great for our club. I think it was great for soccer in Vancouver. It was a great crowd. It was a good environment. To a lot of friendly faces still around the Whitecaps, and it was just a lot of fun. It was a great day, a great outing. I thought we brought a lot of fans of our own to the game, which was great. So yeah, it was amazing atmosphere. It was nice to see some friendly faces on the Whitecap side, and I thought we put a good effort forward. And obviously they were the better team on the day, but to score 2 goals and do some good things in the game, I thought was really good. And they brought awareness to Vancouver FC and the club. Having another professional club in the local community was something a lot of people maybe weren't quite aware of. So we kind of put ourselves on the map a bit, and we're just trying to grow this club.
It was great to see Nico Mesquita scoring more goals at BC Place as well. How important do you think a rivalry like this can be to continue to grow the game in the province? You mentioned about the importance for you to bring more awareness to the club, but overall just to have that sort of a rivalry within our province, how important that is overall.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's nice to have rivalries of local teams. We have Pacific in our league, and with the Whitecaps, now that we've played them once, we got a taste of it, and we'd love to play them again. It's like I say, it was a fantastic opportunity for us on the night, and if we can get them again, it'd be another fantastic opportunity to for our guys to play against what is the top level in North America. And I feel when we get those opportunities, our guys always will step up and put their best foot forward.
you have been, like I mentioned, in the professional realm of soccer for a long time, and you have seen different levels of the game within Canada. Talking specifically about the Canadian Premier League, the opportunities that it's providing to Canadian young players is something that we haven't seen on a consistent basis in previous decades. So, what is the impact that the CPL can have with not only continue to grow the game, but also to improve like the sources where like the Canadian national team can improve as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, I think what it does basically, it just gives more opportunity for players to become professional players first and foremost, but it also provides a pathway. The more players have the opportunity at this level, the more players will go to can find another level once they do well, right? So back when I played, you had to go on trials and a lot of times at 3-4 clubs over in Europe, and if you made it, you were one of the lucky ones. So with this, now players are getting a chance and to grow as a player at a young age, and get minutes in a quality league, and then can they take that next step, or can the club sell them to a higher environment so the players can keep growing? So I think over the first 8 years of the league, we've had a lot of success stories. A few that have gone to the MLS and even won the MLS as starters. So it's I think it's a key part of growing the game in Canada, and there's just way more opportunity than there used to be. It was just really difficult for in my generation for players to turn pro, and even some of the guys that maybe aren't ready for pro at 17, 18 still have a chance at 21, 22, 23 to come into the CPL, and still at a good age where they could find themselves playing overseas. There's like Dominic Sator is a player I had who went over to the Polish Premier League at 27, and he's still playing in that league. So, he's one of those late bloomers that maybe not at a young age, the CPL wasn't quite there, but still was able to make it and get to a higher level, and even got a national team cap. So, it just brings opportunity, and it's great for, soccer and the talent pool of Canada so we can grow it.
Last question, Coach. Looking at the remaining of the season here in the Canadian Premier League, as Vancouver FC enters its fourth season in the league, it seems like this team is primed to sort of like take the next step based on what they have done in the past. Like, what are some the biggest goal that you may have for your club as a whole once we reach the end of the year?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to be in a playoff spot. I think we have the ability within this group, and we're really early in the season, but we got to start picking up points soon if we want to do that. But I think that's definitely the next step for this club. I think they struggled the first 3 years and where they finished, but I think we've got enough talent. We're trying to turn the club around and change the trajectory of the club, both on and off the pitch right now. And I think we're primed to make a run for a playoff spot this season.
Coach, you have a long trip ahead of you going to Ottawa this weekend, so I'll let you go. I appreciate your time, and I hope the best for the rest of the season for you and Vancouver FC.
All right. Thanks, Jorge.
All right. Welcome to the show. So that was head coach of Vancouver FC, Martin Nash. Mark, obviously, Vancouver FC is having a bit of a rough start of the Canadian Premier League season. Mm-hmm. They have lost 3 in a row, but I think that the numbers don't tell the whole story as to what this team is playing. I think that Martin Nash alluded to a couple of things of that. They're creating a lot of chances. They haven't been able to convert them. They are defending fairly well. I mean, they have lost every single match by a score of 1-0. So I think that he might have a point in the fact that they have been a little unfortunate early in the season, and the results don't necessarily paint the whole picture of what this team is doing on the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, I mean, they've only lost their first 3 matches by a single goal. So yes, that means that they're winless for the first 3 matches, but just not converting chances, and you convert 1 or 2 of those chances, completely changes the outcome of a game. And in those matches, those 3 losses could easily be 3 draws. They could have been a couple of draws and a win. It could have easily have been 3 wins. The thing is, it's not too late in the season for them, but what Martin's job as the coach now is to get them sorted out and focused, and so when they're getting these opportunities, that they can convert them and change these missed opportunities into goals, and then slowly, or there's potentially they could rather quickly turn things around, because if they have a couple legit really bad games on both sides of the ball, then they're going to be in some very difficult waters.
I think he will. I think this team is going to start doing better. Obviously, he showed early signs of what he can do with this group of players and this team last season. As I spoke with him in the interview, asking him about that run of the Canadian Championship last year, where they reached the final against the Vancouver Whitecaps. Obviously, the result didn't go their way at the end of the day, but that Vancouver Classico, if you will, that was exciting to watch, and it shows that this team has potential to reach not only final stages, but like in this case the playoffs. As he mentioned, it is the goal of the team going into the fourth season in the league. So I think that he'll be able to turn things around. I think that there's something feels different about this team as opposed to what we saw in the first 3 seasons so far. Obviously, there's some friendly faces like Nicolas Mesquita, friend of the show, who is there and is still getting it done and being a veteran presence for that team. So I look forward to see how they hopefully start turning things around, especially this weekend. They have a long trip to go to Ottawa to play Atletico Ottawa on Sunday. So yeah, obviously we'll continue to keep a close eye to Vancouver FC and Martin Nash and that group of players, and as another Vancouver soccer team. And yeah, it will be good to see how they do and the rest of the season.
Absolutely.
So, with that said, anything else that you have on your mind?
Well, just looking forward to the Whitecaps match against Colorado Rapids this weekend. I'm predicting a Whitecaps 2-0 win. That's what I'm going with. Yeah, we'll see what happens, but I think they got a couple of goals in them. I would like to see them just open up and have like another big game like they did against Minnesota FC. But as long as they get another W at the end of the day, I think that's all that really matters. But we'll see where it where it comes out. But I'm going with 2-0. What about yourself?
I mean, Colorado is not a bad team. I mean, they're
not horrible. Yeah,
they're 7. They're 4-1-4. I think that the Vancouver Whitecaps need to win this match, especially with the run of games that they're going to have on the road, as we discussed earlier. But also, just so they can catch San Jose at the top of the West, because San Jose leading the West is just wrong. It just feels wrong. It looks wrong. And that is one of the things that should not happen. So I want them to knock San Jose out of their perch. But joking aside, heads up with San Jose. I think that they are demonstrating that it is no joke. It's no joke what San Jose is doing. They are 8 wins, 1 loss, 24 points. I think that what Bruce Arena and Timo Werner and that team are cooking down in the Bay Area is no joke. And so, I mean, kudos to them, but San Jose leading the West is just it's unnatural.
It's unholy. It really is. Get the holy water or whatever you need to do to sort of exercise those it's evil spirits.
So
yes, exactly.
So to answer your question, I think that they're going to win 2-0. I think 2-0 is fair.
Yeah, that seems about right. That's exactly what I'm feeling as well. So we'll see, and then we'll talk about next week and probably some other things. Yeah. Well, that's it. Let's wrap it up. Thank you everybody for joining this week. Check out our socials on Instagram, and where else are we at these days? I've forgotten.
We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram. Exactly. Yep. We're on X. We have a YouTube channel. I was going to lose our rating at the very end. We are everywhere.
Everywhere.
So
Everywhere you want to be, we're there. So you just can't hide
even
from
you
us.
don't, it will hopefully appear on your, will pop up into your feed.
Exactly. All right, everybody. Have a good week. Enjoy the match against Colorado, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Take care of each other, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now.
Putting off replacing your window treatments because you think it's complicated? At Blinds.com, we spent 30 years proving it doesn't have to be. And right now, our Spring Black Friday sale makes it easier than ever. Whether you want to DIY it or have a pro to handle everything from measure to install, we've got you. Free samples, real design experts, and zero pressure. Just help when you need it. Shop up to 45% off site-wide. Huge savings on doorbusters. Plus a free professional measure now during the Blinds.com Spring Black Friday sale. Rules and restrictions apply.